Bienvenue tout le monde à l'Université d'Ottawa. On est très chanceux et extrêmement content que vous puissiez vous joindre à nous cet après-midi. Je m'appelle Monica Gattinger. Je suis directrice de l'Institut de recherche sur la science, la société et la politique publique ici à l'Université d'Ottawa. Ce panel aujourd'hui est le panel inaugural dans la série de l'ISSP-RCIScience sur la science et la société. This series brings together two highly complementary organizations, the Institute for Science, Society and Policy here at the University of Ottawa and the Royal Canadian Institute for Science. At the ISSP, we were absolutely delighted and honored to partner with RCISCience on this new series on science in society. For those of you who are not familiar with the ISSP, we're a cross-faculty research institute here at the University of Ottawa, and we look at the intersection and interface between science, society, and policy. I jokingly say that means we can do whatever we want, but in theory and in practice, we focus on three core areas. Policy for science, otherwise known as evidence-based or evidence-informed decision-making, science for policy, technology, innovation, and governance of emerging technologies. I think all three of those areas are very well represented on our panel and with our theme and topic today. When we were first talking about launching this series, the Royal Canadian Institute for Science and the ISSP, we thought, well, we should really kick it off with something that is likely to generate tremendous interest and controversy, maybe even amongst the general public and amongst those who are in the ISSP's network. Our network includes academics, senior level decision makers here in Ottawa and beyond. So what better topic than gene editing and the promise and perils of gene editing? I'm not an expert in that area. My area of expertise and research interest is in energy. So I'm really delighted that we have such a tremendous panel of experts with us this afternoon, to be talking about these issues. I'm looking forward to learning a lot. Mais avant de procéder au panel, il est notre énorme plaisir d'accueillir Madame Mona Nemer, la conseillère scientifique en chef du Canada, afin de prononcer un mot de bienvenue ici ce soir. Alors, je vous invite à vous joindre à moi à accueillir.
Merci beaucoup, Monica, et bon après-midi, bonne soirée, chers collègues, chers amis de l'Université d'Ottawa, de l'environnement, de Toronto, d'un peu partout. Évidemment, c'est particulièrement émouvant pour moi d'être à nouveau dans cette pièce où, vous savez, j'ai passé 11 ans à l'Université d'Ottawa et on a fait beaucoup d'événements dans cette pièce ici. Alors, merci beaucoup à l'ISSP et ainsi qu'au Royal Canadian Institute for Science de m'avoir invité, mais surtout d'avoir vraiment démarré cette série de conférences des plus, je crois, importantes. I'm really grateful for the invitation to be with you here to launch this series that is, I think, fits perfectly with the objectives of the ISSP, and certainly is one of my core mandates, which is to engage a conversation, a meaningful conversation between scientists and the public, so that together we can discuss the benefits, the risks, and the framing of new technologies that hold immense promise, but also may have limitations. So these questions, of course, are interdisciplinary by nature, and I think this is the perfect forum to discuss them. I'm certainly grateful that you've chosen gene editing, and not artificial intelligence, as a life scientist myself. I'm certainly very, very pleased with this. Gene editing techniques, you're going to hear a lot about them, so I'm not going to discuss them any further. Just to say that the ability to edit genes is not entirely new. So there have been approaches over the years using different enzymes, known enzymes, artificial enzymes, and over the year, these advances have been certainly hailed every time as the discovery or the big science of the year. For example, in 2011, engineering gene editing using engineered nucleases was hailed as the method of the year by Nature, and gene editing CRISPR-Cas system was selected as the 2015 breakthrough of the year by Science. I think people had been expecting already a Nobel in this area. In 2016, 3 Gardner Awards were presented for development of CRISPR-Cas as a genome editing tool for eukaryotic cells. And if I may be allowed to digress a bit, I'd just like to recognize the great work that the Gardner Foundation does and salute the leadership of my good friend Janet Rossant at the helm of the foundation right now. So the rapid evolution of gene editing tools made this technology now broadly accessible to the scientists. Gene editing tools are being utilized already in a wide range of research endeavors and have potential applications in many sectors, including human health as well as environmental and agricultural applications. In fact, there are many startups already that are based on this technology. All these applications are a topic of debate. Gene editing in humans and embryos is controversial, especially because of the potential to make genetic changes that could then be passed on to future generations. We've all heard of designer babies. Gene editing in plants and animals cause societal concern about unintended and irreversible consequences on our environment. So this debate requires a meaningful engagement and dialogue between science and society, as well as experts in bioethics, law, policy, in addition, of course, to the scientists themselves. As a society, we need to come to our stand about permissibility of editing humans and our environment from scientific, moral, and ethical dimensions. Gene editing is certainly now the last in a long series of developments from generating recombinant DNA in 1974 to the human embryonic stem cells in 1978 to the birth of Dolly, the cloned sheep, some may remember, in 1996. All these events required a robust discussion and analysis of risks and benefits of these technologies to humankind. It's a good practice, I think, for us to pause, think about the implications of the work, and engage others in a constructive conversation. So I think this is especially important because, in general, the Canadian public wants to hear more about science, wants to engage in science. And yet, as some of you may have heard, the results of surveys from the Ontario Science Centre, I think there are some paradoxical data and some worrisome data as well. For example, 30% of Canadians consider themselves scientifically illiterate. I think it's actually an underestimate. I think there are more people who don't fully appreciate all the dimensions of science, the ones that have impact at least on their lives, on choices they make every day. So as Canada's Chief Science Advisor, I'm working on many of these areas and engaging the public. And I think a lot of these things start with an open communication. So that's why I'm reviewing guidelines for federal scientists so that they can actually post their science and their data and talk about it publicly, together with an integrity piece. I think that as a science community, we need to also engage seriously, and I stress seriously, about open science and about the proper forum for meaningful dialogue with society and with the public. If we don't do this, I think that a lot of the great science and the great technology will just go, sort of, we won't be able to reap the maximum benefit out of the technology and out of all the investments that collectively we have made. So I very, very much look forward to the panel. I'm going to be taking a lot of notes, and thank you again for inviting me.
Un grand merci à Dr. Nemer pour ces remarques fort intéressantes et stimulantes. You've really set the table very well for us for the panel, and we're delighted to have you with us this evening. And we couldn't agree more about this importance, and this is exactly why we've launched this series about stimulating a greater conversation between science and society, and the importance that that can play, notably at the early stages of scientific development, in terms of garnering public confidence and trust in scientific development, so that they can realize their full potential, and of course take into consideration some of the challenges and concerns that come forward from the general public. And I hope that we'll have a good discussion of those issues, not only here on the panel, but also in the question and answer session afterwards. So it gives me great pleasure at this point to say, okay, my work here is done. I now get to hand the mic over, as it were, to our good friend and colleague from NSERC here. All of you have the bios on your chairs, so we try to minimize the amount of time that we will need to spend on introducing people. But I would like to note, though, that our moderator for this evening, in addition to being Vice President of Research and Partnerships at NSERC, also happens to be an expert in this field. So is a tremendously terrific moderator for us to have with us this evening. And I know that he will provide a brief introduction of each of the panelists, but I wanted to just make one very quick, small remark, is that Dr. Jennifer Kuzma is with us at the ISSP from North Carolina State University. She'll be with us for the next number of months on a Fulbright U.S.-Canada Research Chair in Science and Society. So we're absolutely delighted to have her with us and glad that early in her mandate with the university that we get an opportunity to introduce her, as it were, to our network. So with that, Mark, the mic is yours.